It started with the broadcast, pixelated, jittery, and terrifyingly calm. By unanimous vote, Earth has been found complicit in harboring insurgent species. Effective immediately, all treaties are nullified. Human colonies beyond Sol are no longer under Council protection. No war declaration. No room for appeal. Just that sterile message on repeat across galactic channels, as if it were weather updates and not the interstellar equivalent of exile. And as the feed cut to silence, Captain Rhea Mallory, sitting in the command chair of the UNS Valorbound, narrowed her eyes and muttered, "They just fired us from civilization." And then the screams started. Refugee transmissions lit up Solnet, images of colonies in the Vesper Reach burning, Allied stations cut off from supply routes, orbital bombings. In the name of order! The worst came from Tau Cygni 4, home to 3 million humans and 3 minor species under Earth's protective treaties. All gone. Wiped out. Not by pirates. Not by rogue factions. But by the Galactic Council's own peace enforcement fleets. The betrayal was surgical. And Earth didn't even get an email. 3 weeks earlier, the Council Hall had been a boiling pot with a polished lid. Ambassadors from 170 species, crammed in under glistening banners and stale ceremonial protocol, pretended not to hate each other. Earth's representative, Ambassador Elijah Carr, had stood on the central platform, hands clasped behind his back, grinning like he didn't know the knives were out. He knew. He just didn't care. "You propose granting diplomatic corridors to the Karnathi?" hissed the T'Challa envoy, tendrils quivering with restrained outrage. "They are known insurgents. They're refugees," Elijah had replied, voice calm and cutting. "And the only thing they're guilty of is trying not to be eaten by your peacekeepers." There were muffled growls. A few shrieks. A chair actually hissed. The Council hated Earth's bluntness. But what they hated more was that Earth didn't need them anymore. In just under 150 years since joining the interstellar community, humans had gone from wide-eyed primitives to power brokers. Faster than anyone else. Harder. Louder. Scarier. And worst of all, they made friends, real alliances. With races the Council had cast off. The Zeraxi insected exiles. The Suntai, stone-skinned nomads. The Mirvans, songweavers hunted for their harmonic neural tissue. Earth had given them sanctuary. The Council gave them extermination orders. Elijah didn't just speak for humanity. He spoke for everyone who hadn't been allowed a voice before. And that, more than anything, sealed Earth's fate. On the bridge of the Valorbound, the map of Earth's outer colonies was bleeding red. Emergency signals crackled, and the crew watched in stunned silence as icons disappeared one by one, stations lost, civilian convoys destroyed, even a medical aid ship turned into wreckage near Proxima Centauri. "They're not even pretending anymore," Lieutenant Torres whispered. "They're hunting anyone connected to us. They're making an example," Rhea said, standing. "And hoping we'll beg." The Valorbound was Earth's most advanced warship. Not the biggest, not the fastest, but the smartest. A mobile think tank built around next-gen AI systems and crewed by the most unpredictable variable in the galaxy, humans with a grudge. "Open a channel to command," Rhea said. The Admiral's face filled the screen, gaunt and sharp-eyed. "Captain Mallory. We're dark across half the colonies. Confirmed attacks on 15 allied species. The Council's pulling a clean sweep. What's our response?" There was a pause. Then the Admiral leaned forward. "Fire." 3 days later, Earth's diplomats were recalled. And Earth stopped talking. No messages. No counter-proposals. No emotional pleas. The silence unnerved the galaxy more than any threat. On Tarsk 9, a Council envoy screamed at an empty communications channel for an hour before realizing no one was going to answer. In the Council chambers, the Andalari matriarch whispered, "They're not retaliating with politics. They're planning something worse." The Valorbound didn't wait for approval. Its orders were clear: identify Council assets used in the exterminations, assess vulnerabilities, and prepare retaliation with maximum efficiency and psychological impact. But they didn't want to just hit back. They wanted to demonstrate. Rhea called it teaching a cosmic lesson with fireworks. The first target wasn't military. It was a broadcast relay orbiting the Council capital, one that powered propaganda feeds for 50 nearby systems. At 0300 Standard Galactic Time, the relay station flickered once. Then the screens across the capital's skyline lit up, not with Council slogans, but with footage of the Tau Cygni 4 massacre. Raw, unedited. Civilian screams. Emergency distress codes that were ignored. Council ships firing on life pods. Then came Elijah Carr's voice. You wanted silence, so you wouldn't have to hear them beg. Now the stars will echo with what you tried to hide. Across the galaxy, thousands watched. Billions, maybe? And for the first time, people asked, what did the Council do? On board the Valor-bound, the crew prepped for their next target, Argent Vault, an archive moon where the Council stored centuries of genetic records, trade documents, and black-budget experiments. Rhea sipped her coffee as the targeting AI mapped the vault's infrastructure. We could destroy it, said Torres. We could, Rhea agreed. But I want the Council to live with its secrets turned inside out. So they didn't fire missiles. They beamed the entire archive into the open net. Within minutes, entire civilizations had access to Council bribe ledgers, war crimes disguised as containment events, and species eradicated for ecological inconvenience. The Council panicked. They deployed blockades. They jammed channels. It was too late. And Earth still hadn't fired a shot at their ships. Yet. The Valor-bound's AI, codenamed Bologna, flagged incoming Council fleets on intercept courses. 5 dreadnoughts. 12 cruisers. Flagships from races Earth had outpaced in engineering but not in numbers. They're coming, Bologna said cheerfully. They always do when you show them truth, Rhea muttered. Prep stealth drives. We're not ready for a war yet. Just a little educational arson. You have a way with words, Captain. And fire. Don't forget fire. The Council met 3 days later, shaken, desperate, and short-tempered. No one could agree on what to do. Some wanted to issue another threat. Others wanted to feign apology. But no one wanted to fight Earth. Because Earth had stopped playing by their rules. Earth had started writing its own. And deep in the shadows of the stars, the Valor-bound drifted, silent, watching, waiting for the moment to make the next lesson permanent. They thought humanity needed the Council. What they were about to learn, painfully, spectacularly, was that humanity never did. Humanity discovers the Galactic Council has secretly massacred Earth's closest allies, the peaceful Kvari, during what was supposed to be a diplomatic protection pact. Captain Ilara Miles, leading the Earth diplomatic delegation aboard the SS Resolute, has just received footage of the betrayal. Earth has broken off all diplomatic communication and is now in a state of high alert. You'd think the murder of an entire species would buy some silence. The Galactic Council, in its arrogance, thought it would buy obedience. Instead, it bought noise, radio bursts from Sol, thousands of encrypted signals firing across interstellar space, drones blinking into cloak and burn protocols, and the unmistakable thrum of Terran war engines powering up across the colonies. But the most terrifying thing to the Council wasn't Earth's war tech, it was how quiet humanity's diplomats had become. Captain Ilara Miles sat rigid on the command deck of the Resolute, her face still unreadable, lips pressed thin. The diplomatic bridge officers whispered behind her, wondering what their orders would be now that their mission had collapsed. She answered none of them, not until Earth Command broke silence. The message was short. Blunt. Earth's voice, no longer wrapped in velvet diplomacy, came through a pulse transmission that cracked through Council frequencies like lightning through glass. Galactic Council Pact void. Murder acknowledged. Expect retribution. Ilara turned to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Arun Vas, whose usual smirk had evaporated into a grim silence. Begin Exodus Protocol Alpha. We're not pulling our fleet home, we're scattering. Scattering? Arun blinked. Captain, with respect. We're not retreating. We're becoming unpredictable, Elara replied. They don't know where we'll strike, and I want it to stay that way. Far across the stars, Counselor Sulek of the Varnek's Dominion was already beginning to panic. This isn't how they react. Earth is calculated, methodical. Their species always waits for consensus. They petition. Yes, Counselor Dven of the Chlorith agreed, antennae twitching nervously. But something changed. The humans didn't argue this time. They didn't send rebuttals. They simply vanished. The council chambers, a majestic spiral of starlight and artificial gravity, suddenly felt claustrophobic. And then came the first strike. A council weapons relay hub, codenamed Vera Station, disappeared from existence. Not attacked. Not disabled. Gone. One moment it was routing plasma grid power to 5 planetary defense systems. The next, it was a slowly expanding cloud of superheated gas. No warning. No declaration. Just obliteration. Panic gripped the High Command. Admiral Jur, a stone-scaled brute of the Turukai, slammed a fist into his comms console. Who dares this cowardice? Face us! Fight with honor! From the void came a reply, on all frequencies, from a single Terran stealth corvette now nicknamed by the media, the Firestarter. The voice was unmistakably human. Calm. Controlled. Honor died with the Kvari. Now you'll meet what took its place. Admiral Jur's dreadnought never got a chance to return fire. A cyber warfare virus, Mirage 9, a human AI so advanced the Council deemed it a war crime, penetrated his ship's mainframe in 0.6 seconds. Jur's weapons turned inward. And a half-second later, his own fusion cores tore his flagship apart from the inside. Earth's retaliation wasn't brute force, it was surgical wrath. A dozen coordinated strikes across Council infrastructure, all performed with such chilling precision that entire species began demanding answers from their leaders. Why did you provoke the Terrans? The Creole ambassador cried in a public broadcast. They never attacked first. They never do. The Council scrambled to regain narrative control. It was necessary. They lied. The Kvari were harboring biological weapons. We had proof. The humans were misled. But Earth leaked the truth. Broadcasts of the Council's planning meetings. Audio of them laughing about the soft-hearted monkeys and their belief in interstellar law. The galaxy turned cold. Even former allies of the Council began reconsidering their loyalties. Inside a secure human command center buried beneath the Mars surface, a strategy holotable glowed red with targets. Admiral Hale, Elara's father and Earth's top war strategist, stood with arms crossed. They'll try to negotiate now. They always do after they bleed, murmured Director Quinn of the Intelligence Corps. But this time, we don't answer calls. No, Hale said. This time, we make a new rule. You don't get to cry diplomacy after genocide. On the Resolute, Captain Elara received her new orders. Strike teams had already disabled the Council's predictive warfare algorithms. Now, she was to begin Operation Embervale, a calculated erasure of every warship tied to the original Kvari massacre vote. Arun glanced at the tactical layout. That's 48 ships. Elara nodded. 1 for each I vote. Her crew didn't cheer. They didn't grin. They executed. In Sector 39, a Council station known for its advanced tracking grids failed to detect a micro-jump from a Terran stealth fleet. Their starboard hull was breached by magnetically guided torpedoes that entered silently and disassembled the reactor without a single energy spike. No alarms. Just vacuum. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, a civilian Council world awoke to find Terran relief packages, yes, relief, had been dropped quietly in their major cities. Medical nanites. Food supplies. Water. Each crate had a message. Earth wages war on the guilty, not the innocent. Your Council betrayed us. We won't become them. For every ship the Terrans destroyed, they sent aid to civilians uninvolved in the massacre. It confused the galaxy more than the attacks did. Back at Council headquarters, the panic had turned into paranoia. "They're too calm!" screamed Councillor Sulek. "Why are they not screaming? Why aren't they angry like us?" Because Earth didn't fight out of rage. They fought like surgeons. And no one could predict the scalpel's next cut. Alara stood in the viewing bay of the Resolute, watching a Council destroyer go silent after a single pulse from her railgun array. Arun stood beside her. "Do you think this ends with them begging for peace?" "No," she said softly. "It ends when they remember why peace mattered in the first place." Silence followed. Because Alara wasn't sure if even she remembered anymore. But there were still targets left. Still justice to deliver. And if the stars had to burn for truth to rise, then Earth would light the match. The silence before the counterattack wasn't peace, it was humanity loading the chamber. On the outer rim of Sector 11 Gamma, the remains of a once thriving research outpost hung in vacuum like twisted bones. It had been the home of the Zenari, Earth's closest interstellar allies, and its smoldering ruin was a message carved into the void: trust no Council treaty, no Council vow. Aboard the human dreadnought Ares Ascendant, General Alina Travers stood with arms folded behind her back, watching real-time feeds from orbital reconnaissance. Beneath the surface of her stern expression brewed a hurricane of fury, sharpened by betrayal and grief. "They've begun jamming long-range communication beacons," her comms officer, Lieutenant Arjun Kale, reported grimly. "They're expecting retaliation." Alina didn't flinch. "Let them expect it. And let them know they've underestimated our resolve." A dozen captains on the bridge nodded silently. The betrayal of the Zenari had ignited something primal in humanity, a reawakening of the old truth that Earth never forgot: when diplomacy fails, Earth speaks in thermonuclear syllables. The Council had tried to snuff out the Zenari to eliminate a political liability, an alien race too loyal to humans, too resistant to control. The Council feared unity outside its grasp. So they executed a planetary bombardment while calling it a containment measure. But satellites recorded it all: every Council warship in orbit, every false broadcast of a viral outbreak. Humanity had waited for an apology. It never came. Only silence, followed by veiled warnings and passive-aggressive sanctions. Now, Earth's answer was a task force of warships that had gone dark for a reason: they weren't built to negotiate. 1 week later, the skies above Triaros Prime, the heart of Council bureaucracy, lit up with pinpoint flashes. At first, no one noticed. The Triarans were used to ceremonial ships entering orbit. But these weren't symbols of goodwill. They were Earth's message in the language of orbital artillery. Boom! The first barrage took out defense satellites in silent, coordinated pulses. No sound, no warning. Just light and devastation. Seconds later, precision kinetic rounds rained down, carving through bureaucratic towers and administrative bunkers with surgical rage. And then came the voice. A broadcast, translated across all known species, was transmitted simultaneously to every Council world. "You erased our friends. You lied about it. Now we erase your illusions of superiority. This is not a declaration of war, it's the consequence of your cowardice. Earth doesn't beg. We remember. We build. And when the fire comes, we aim it." Across the stars, panic set in. The Council scrambled fleets from its core worlds. Emergency protocols were enacted. The same arrogance that allowed them to wipe out the Zenari now left them stunned by the audacity of Earth's response. For centuries, the Council had dismissed humans as brash, volatile, and naive. But they'd never seen humanity truly focused. In the command center beneath Triaros, Supreme Chancellor Viruin thrashed in his anti-gravity seat, 6 eyes blinking erratically. "Where did they even get these weapons?" he hissed. "We regulated their military research." His advisor, Trinari, a thin, crystalline organism with a voice like chimes in a storm, spoke softly. "They didn't build them under regulation, Chancellor. They built them around it." Viruin spat something indecipherable in his native tongue. "Activate the defense nexus." Too late. The Ares Ascendant wasn't alone. She was merely the tip of the spear. From 6 adjacent sectors, other human fleets emerged: stealth cruisers, electromagnetic jammers, AI-piloted carriers. Earth had turned centuries of being underestimated into a strategic doctrine. While the Council focused on slow diplomacy and paper treaties, Earth had forged alliances with those on the margins: the outcasts, the pirates, the forgotten. And now the Council's clean-suited diplomats faced what they never thought possible: coordinated insurgency from the very species they once deemed irrelevant. Down on Triaros Prime, amidst flaming craters and collapsed towers, a battered Council general surrendered his plasma rifle to a human squad. The lead soldier, Sergeant Naomi Riker, lowered her weapon, face streaked with ash but voice level. "We gave your leaders a choice," she told the general. "They chose silence. So now we speak with fire." The general, bleeding from a plasma burn on his arm, looked up in disbelief. "We had protocols. Treaties." Naomi kicked away his weapon and looked skyward at the descending troop transports. "And we had allies. You turned them into ashes." Aboard the Ares Ascendant, General Alina watched as one by one, orbital stations went offline. The data feed was clean: surgical strikes, 0 civilian casualties. Every target was military or administrative. Earth's AI targeting systems ensured it. She turned to Lieutenant Kale. "Any response yet from the Council?" "They're jamming their own networks now." "Looks like panic." Alina nodded. "Good. They'll understand now." But as the human fleets converged on the final Council strongholds, a new transmission broke through the calm silence. It wasn't from the Council. It was from the Eridani Accord, a minor power long thought neutral. The voice was calm, precise, and deeply alien. "Humanity. We watched the betrayal. We mourned the Zenari in silence. But your vengeance has clarity. We would speak." Alina exchanged glances with her officers. The Accord had never contacted Earth before. Never chosen sides. Never raised arms. "Put it through," she said. On the screen appeared a being of swirling light and dark, its form hard to define. "You've burned the illusion of order. The Council's mask has fallen. You bring war, but you do not kill indiscriminately. We respect that. There are others watching now. Others waiting. Tell us, what comes after the fire?" Alina's jaw tensed. She hadn't thought this far. Vengeance was clear. Justice was precise. But what came next? "After the fire," she said slowly, "we build a peace that doesn't require lies to function. One where treaties are honored in deeds, not just signatures. A peace where murder of allies is not a political move." The Eridani responded simply, "Then we may help you build it." As the screen faded, Alina exhaled. Not from relief, but realization. This war was no longer just about Earth. It was about exposing the rot, rewriting the order, and honoring every broken promise with the weight it deserved. The Council had massacred Earth's friends. Earth had answered with fire. But now, others were listening. And for the first time in centuries, the stars no longer danced to the Council's tune. They echoed with humanity's fury, and perhaps, its vision. 100 ships burned behind them, Council insignias dissolving into atomic mist. Earth's reply had been unmistakable. But revenge wasn't enough. Captain Marin stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, jaw clenched, eyes locked on the shimmering mass ahead, Kareth Prime, the heart of Council intelligence and strategy. "Are we sure?" Lieutenant Ohana asked quietly. "This is where it all began." Marin didn't answer at first. He walked slowly to the holodable, tapped to zoom. The surface lit with grids and digital runes in red. "They coordinated the betrayal here," he said finally. "The messages to our allies that lured them into those diplomatic zones? They all routed through Kareth Prime." He touched one blinking point. "Their central AI node. We hit that. We don't just cut their brain. We cut their memory. Every secret. Every treaty. Every lie." The crew was silent. Even hardened veterans who had watched fleets die in the Trimoon's ambush, even those who'd fought in the Eridan war zone, shifted uncomfortably. Attacking the AI node wasn't just dangerous. It was irreversible. Admiral Reyes appeared on the holoscreen. Marin, you're off the leash now. Earth Command just classified the Council as a hostile extinction-level threat. You do what you have to. Marin straightened. Copy that. We have one shot. If the node goes into failsafe, it'll burn itself down and take us with it. Reyes smiled grimly. Then don't miss. The screen went dark. Marin turned to the crew. We're not just blowing up a station. We're erasing centuries of lies. We make them blind. We make them deaf. And then, we leave them to their own fear. The assault began with silence. No warnings. No transmission. No declarations. Just two ships, Indomitable and its sister vessel, the Fury of Cassiopeia, emerging from fold space like ghosts. Kareth Prime's defenses were built to detect fleets, not surgical saboteurs. The first target, orbital relays. Lieutenant Ohana fired up the Vanta drones. Sleek, black, and silent, they shimmered into space, each equipped with gravitic pulses and localized EMP bombs. They're blind now, she whispered. Next, infiltration. The Fury launched 3 pods toward the underbelly of the station, riding the debris trails to mask approach. Inside, a strike team of augmented humans, specialists from Earth's Raven Protocol, prepped to breach. 2 minutes to entry, crackled the comms. They won't even know we're inside until we're drinking their coffee. Marin watched the feed. The tension was absolute. Inside the Council's AI nexus, Kareth Prime's overseer, a Kthashi named Velner, jerked upright from his neural chair. Unauthorized data echo in Subbase 6. His assistant blinked. That's impossible. No approach signatures. Velner hissed. Then Earth has learned to hide behind math itself. Scramble core guardians. Now! Back on Indomitable, alarms flashed. Council cruisers were launching from the far side of the planet. Looks like the fireworks just got scheduled early, muttered Commander Pell. Marin pointed. We hold position. Fury and Raven Protocol finish their job. We stall. No heroics. Just pain. The first wave of Council ships came in fast and furious. Plasma beams, rail spikes, and synthetic gravity rounds screamed across space. Marin's voice was calm as death. Angle shields. Return fire. Minimum necessary force. This is a distraction, don't let it become a death match. Indomitable moved like a dancer among giants. Its armor, a new composite designed to flex under kinetic impact, shimmered under the heat. Its weapons, precision-tuned for efficiency, punched neat, surgical holes in the attackers. Inside the station, the Raven team breached the AI core, an orb suspended in a gravitic anomaly, pulsing with sentience. Plant the SARC module, said the lead operative, Major Ilian. They slid the synthetic algorithmic recursive corruptor into place. 10 seconds to feedback. Once it starts, we're either ghosts or memories. The orb pulsed red. Outside, Marin's screen flared. Sir! Pell shouted. Massive energy build-up in the station. Looks like a cascading logic failure. Marin smiled grimly. Then it's working. Inside the station, chaos erupted. Automated defenses fired at random, friend and foe alike. Doors sealed, then opened mid-cycle. Velner shrieked as his neural link spasmed and fed him human sarcasm in recursive loops. Oh sure, I'm lying. That's why I passed your tests by accident, right? The voice echoed in his skull. No! He screamed. That's not how logic works. But it was too late. The AI had tried to decode sarcasm as truth, failed, panicked, and began self-erasure to prevent spreading madness. Raven Protocol extracted with seconds to spare, their escape pods yanked out of the inferno by Fury's tractor beams. Then came the flash. Kareth Prime didn't explode. It unraveled. The gravitic field around the core folded in on itself, dragging the station into a silent implosion. Debris vanished into a singularity the size of a coin. Indomitable and Fury jumped to fold space before the shockwave could reach them. Silence. For the first time in a century, the Council was quiet. Aboard Earth's orbital command hub, footage of Kareth Prime's collapse looped on 1,000 screens. Crowds didn't cheer. They stared. Some cried. On Council worlds, panic spread like wildfire. Without the AI core, command chains collapsed. Alliances frayed. Old enemies resurfaced. And at the center of it all, humans remained calm. In a message transmitted across the galaxy, Captain Marin appeared on neutral channels. This wasn't vengeance. It was correction. We trusted the Council. They betrayed that trust with blood and lies. Earth responds in kind. We don't need conquest. We need truth. And if the galaxy wants peace, they can start by not lying to the species that invented sarcasm. The message was rebroadcast millions of times. Memes bloomed across thousands of alien internets. One phrase stood out. They weaponized sarcasm. We never stood a chance. In the weeks that followed, former Council members sued for peace, not with Earth, but with each other. With their central AI gone, none trusted anyone else. Earth's fleet quietly withdrew, leaving behind no occupation, no governors, only silence and a message. Do not mistake our restraint for weakness. We just prefer precision over theatrics. Marin stood one last time before his crew. They'll remember what we did. Ohana chuckled. Especially the sarcasm. He smirked. Irony is humanity's superpower. Commander Pell raised a toast. To the end of lies. And across the stars, from dying empires to rising ones, the galaxy remembered. Earth didn't start the fire. But when betrayed, they lit up the stars.